Good morning, YouTube. I figured I'm up, I'm up. I'm not even sleepy. It's quite early in the morning. It's way too early. I don't know why I'm up this early. Yeah. I went to sleep at 1. It's almost 6. And this week is the Regents. I work with high school kids. So I don't gotta be at work till 9. So 7:30 is when I'll start getting ready, and I'll leave by 8. But I figured, why not do a YouTube video? It's fresh in my memories, fresh in my mind. Why not? So shout out to Tubi. Y'all know I love Tubi, and there's something on there called Deadliest Decade. They have one for the 1980s and one for the 1990s. And for the 1990s, they only have 1 season, and the second episode is called The New Girl. Now, I think that's not a good title to use, but that's what they called it, The New Girl, and it's about the case of Shanda Renee. It's one of the saddest crimes to me because she literally died for nothing. And that's what I'm noticing about a lot of these crimes. You know, the motives behind it is just so childish, and so even with adults, you know, a lot of crimes behind them, the motives just don't make sense. And that's how you know that there's a higher force, a demonic force that drives people, because it's no reason to be like that, and people choose to be like that. You know, people can't control their demons, and it's really scary. But most people are familiar with child crimes from the 2000s. You have a lot of people killing their friends, and in this particular case, it was 4 girls involved, and 3 of them did not know her. That's the sad part. When I first heard of this story, this happened in 1992. I heard about it. The very first time I heard about the Shanda Renee case, I feel like after high school, I feel like, you know, because it came on Dr. Phil. But I heard about it before it came on Dr. Phil. It came on Dr. Phil in 2011. But I heard about it before then. But it's just a sad case. So basically, this is one of those stories where it's so many different versions to it, first of all. And to me, it's a lot of holes in the story. And that's what I wanted to talk about, because this story is just all over the place. Most stories, the facts are there, the facts are consistent. With this, it's kind of like all over the place. I think the most accurate one is Dr. Phil, because the mother is there. And then with the docu-series of The Deadliest Decade, the mother is on there too. So basically, what was on the news, and from what I heard at first, was that this was based on a crush. Nobody said, now they said that the girls who killed her were lesbian, and she was killed. Basically, the original story I heard is that somebody had a crush on her, and somebody was jealous about that crush and killed her. And it never made sense to me, because I'm like, well, why would you kill somebody because somebody likes somebody? But then again, these are children, and of course they're going to think like children, right? So come to find out, Shanda actually was in a relationship with a girl. She was 12 and the girl was 14. So based upon what I've seen and what the mother said, and I believe it, this girl was groomed. Straight up, she was groomed. What happened was, she actually came to she started middle school. You know, she's 12, presuming she's I guess 6th grade, 7th grade. When because I was born 89, but when I was 12, I was in the 7th grade, and I turned 13. So she was in middle school. They didn't say if 6th or 7th grade, but she was starting middle school, and she didn't have friends. And she thought a way to make a friend was the girl was like, I want to break up with my boyfriend. Can you give him this ring? So she's like, okay, I'll do it for you. She gives the boy the ring, and the boy gets upset, like, oh, it don't got nothing to do with you, and this, that, and the third, whatever. So the person that jumps in is his cousin, Amanda. So they both got in detention for fighting for a week. In detention, they become friendly. And Amanda, being lesbian, she starts sending her letters, complimenting her. And I think that she kind of turned her out, because being 12 years, when I was 12 and 13, I had a boyfriend. It wasn't, you know, he got me presents. I remember he got me the Earth, Wind, and Fire CD, because he knew I loved that. You know, my father loved it. He got me like this bracelet with his name on it. That was the best friend I told y'all about. We were friends for 20 years. But he was my little boo in 7th grade. He got me, I kid y'all not, a gold ring that I still have today. Like, it looked like a grown, I don't know where he got that ring, but I still have it. It's the nicest piece of jewelry that I, imagine that, 34 years old, and that's the nicest thing a man ever gave me. But yeah, it's a nice gold ring. It looks so fancy. I still wear it for special occasions to this day, 20 years later. He got me half a dozen roses. Like, we was 13, but he was far beyond his years. And I always told him, I was like, yo, you gonna make yourself not just a good husband, a great husband. Like, and then when I told y'all, when we progressed into adulthood, I came home, rose petals all over the place. Like, homeboy was, but yeah, I ain't see him in that way. But I digress. But yeah, so I had my boyfriend. The whole class had a crush on me. So I didn't like girls anyway, but I was saying all that because that's important, and people think it's not a big deal. But who has a crush on you, who likes you, who trying to get with you on a constant basis, especially as a child, it molds you, right? So if she's not getting attention from boys, and the person that's giving her attention is another girl, yeah, you might fall into the trap. I could see that. I could understand that. I actually know a girl who I was telling somebody this the other day. It's a girl I grew up with in my building. She actually has a son too. Our kids are months apart, and she's gay by default. Like, she wants a husband, she wants a family, she wants all that. She has a son, and she's in love with his father, but he don't feel the same way. And she, every now and again, she'll be with a girl. But I know that deep down, she really don't want to be with a girl. What it is girls treat her good. Girls take her out on dates, and they treat her nice. Whether as men that she's interested in, they're not interested in her, and she's never had a boyfriend. So the girl I grew up with, perfect example of, like, she's gay by default. So I think with this Shanda thing, I think it's a similar thing. She was gay by default. The girl was giving her attention, and I do believe the mother, I feel like she molded Shanda, right? So she's giving her all these compliments, and eventually she gives in, and they begin dating. They went to the dance together, and Melinda, who's the common person, who's the main person in this story, she sees it, and she's like, stay away from my girlfriend Amanda. She becomes very jealous. And so, you know, these are kids. You know, you're not thinking it's going to end up in murder, but it does. So, after she's dating Amanda, her grades start dropping. The mother says she stopped dressing up. Like, she saw a change in her daughter. Her daughter started staying in her room. She failed gym. She failed gym because she wasn't changing. Something so simple, you know. So the school she was going to was on top of things. They were strict, as they should. You know, if you don't participate in gym, yes, you should fail. So she failed gym because, you know, she wasn't changing or whatever. So, you know, this girl was changing her mood for the negative. She taught her how to sign her mother's name for report cards. Like, this girl was literally a bad influence. You know, some people might say, oh, you know, she wanted to be gay. Anybody with any type of any intelligence, when you watch it, I encourage you to watch it on Tubi and watch the Dr. Phil interview. That's on YouTube. When you see it from the mother perspective and just, you know, looking at the letters and stuff, when you look at all the evidence and you see that Shanda was kind of like a quiet kid, mind you, I guess they called her the new girl because she was new to the school. So I guess that's why they call it that. She didn't have any friends. That's what y'all have to, this is what y'all gotta think. This is a girl who comes to a public school. And for those of you who've been to public schools are very, very big. They're very big. You have public schools that are small, but compared to, I went to private school. Private schools are small. It's very intimate. You have, with private school, you have literally one class per grade. In public school now, you have 3 to 4 classes per grade. So you could be in the 7th grade, but you got 701, 702, 703. So you got like 90 people sometimes in one grade. That's huge. And that's just for one grade. So in a middle school, typically, you have about at least 300 kids just for 3 grades. Middle school is only 3 grades, right? 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. If you have 300 kids in that school, that's considered kind of small. You know, they consider that small. But yes, this is a public school, so you could imagine how intimidating that could be for a small town girl. She's in a public school, she's in a public setting. She had a hard time making friends. And so this is what happened, right? So just that alone, yeah, she was trying to fit in. That's all, and be accepted. So when the mother saw that her grades were decreasing and she wasn't, you know, not just the grades was dropping, but socially she was just, you know, she wasn't doing well. She wasn't dressing up anymore, staying in her room. The mother was like, you know what? I'm going to put her in Catholic school. And Catholic school did her really well. Her grades shot up. She was on cheerleading. She was doing really good. And the mother was like, I got my kid back. Put her in Catholic school to get her away from this girl. And it worked. So she had friends, you know, Catholic school. She had friends, all of that. And sometimes that's what it takes. Sometimes it takes for you to put your child into a different environment. You know, Catholic school, you might have more things in, like with my son, I put him in Catholic school during the pandemic and he misses it for now. His grades wasn't that, his grades is better in charter school. I put him back in charter school because he's learning. But Catholic school, he was like, he wasn't learning anything, but he misses it because he had friends. He had things in common with those kids. The kids that have a church background, etc., etc. So sometimes, you know, different things for different people. But I took him out because I didn't like how the teachers wasn't on top of things. Surprisingly, in the Catholic school, nobody was calling me and telling me my son was falling asleep. Nobody was calling me and telling me anything. My son's charter school, any little thing he does, I get a phone call. If he's late for school, I get a text message. You know, they're very hands-on and on top of things. But I digress. So she goes to Catholic school, she's doing great, and she actually tells a new friend she wants Amanda to leave her alone. So they're supposed to be broken up at this time. The mother finds out that they had a physical relationship because she sent a letter, and Shanda sent a letter to Amanda, and it was sent back because it had no stamp. So that was God letting the mother know what was really going on. So it seemed to be that even though she told her to stop seeing her, she continued to see her. Now, this is why the mother blames Amanda for her death as well. Melinda now, I told you about a girl, Melinda, that was Amanda's girlfriend. So, the night she died, so she's at her father's house. There's two different stories. So, in the documentary, they say how, well, docuseries, they're like, oh, he told her to go to bed, good night, right? In the Dr. Phil episode, he actually heard her leave, but there was a discrepancy, like a disagreement between her and the girls because she didn't know them. And the father was bickering with her, saying, oh, you know, don't leave with them if you don't know them. And she insisted and left anyway. So that's two different stories. It's like, which one is it, dude? Like, did you, you know, unfortunately later he committed suicide because initially it kind of, I'm sorry, it kind of is his fault because first of all, she's 12. Why is she allowed to go out at night? I don't care if that was her BFF. I don't care if it was her cousin. I don't care who it is. Why is she allowed to go out at night at 12 years old? If you as a parent, especially a father, you know, your daughter's giving signals that she don't know the girls, why would you let her out? Then the mother proceeds to say she was threatened with a knife. How does she know that? I feel like the father had to tell her, or she's assuming. But in any event, she was allowed to leave the house. Now, it's two different, the mother was telling two different stories because she said, he said good night or whatever. And she, like, what she says in the docuseries and then what's said on Dr. Phil, I don't understand how it's the same mother and she's saying two different stories. Very strange to me. Like, why are you saying two different stories? Because that's very different. Almost, I don't want to say, I don't want to think that far-fetched. I know that the parents didn't plan it. But it's almost as if she's hiding something. Because why are you telling different stories in different interviews? Like, I've never, that's why I say with this Shanda case, I feel like there's so much more to the story that we don't know. And that we'll never know at this point because it happened so long ago. But it's just, why would the father let her go? Let's say if that really is the initial story. Yeah, so it doesn't make sense to me that, it makes more sense. The first scenario, like he went to bed, is possible. Now, me personally, my son is 14. I don't just tell him to go, you know, now things happen. There's times when I've fallen asleep and I've been so tired that I've came to my living room and my son fell asleep on the couch. It happens. I totally get it. But just to say goodnight to her and you just gonna let her stay up, I don't know. Everybody's different. You know, whatever. But I always send my son to bed. Like, go to bed. Go to your room. You know, it's just natural. So it's like, that makes more sense that he went to bed and she was, you know, in front of the TV. That makes more sense versus he knew that there was people out there that she didn't know and he let her go. Like, you as a parent, you should have been a parent and put your foot down. Like, no, you don't know these people. First of all, it's nighttime, so you ain't going nowhere. That's number one. Number two, you don't know these people. You're damn sure. Now you really not going nowhere. You know, like if you knew them, like I'm not going to front. If my son's friends who I knew wanted to just talk to him real quick in the car, I'm coming outside with him and yeah, you could talk in the car real quick. You're not going to go for a joyride. We not doing that. You're 14. My son is 14. And you want to speak to him real quick or some whatever. Y'all could do it right here. Y'all can come inside. Y'all could do it right. What you want to do? It's nighttime. What is it? You want to talk real quick? Okay, cool. Come inside. Y'all could come inside. Y'all can come in and sit in my dining room table or my living room, and y'all could talk about what y'all need to talk about. Or you could sit in a car and guess what? I'm coming outside with you. Y'all not going to take my child no motherfucking where, and it's nighttime. Like, I don't understand that part, how he just let her go and then she was threatened at knife point. Who told the mother that? Is that an assumption or did the father? Then, how did Melinda know the address? Amanda had to tell her. So the thing is, Amanda knew that she was going to die. Melinda told her, I'm going to kill Shanda. And then the unfortunate thing is, after they killed her, she told Amanda don't say nothing, and she didn't. The way the murder was found out was one of them had went to the police station and just told everything, which I feel like it shows some type of remorse. Even though that person stood there and did absolutely nothing, they probably was afraid. You know, they was a kid and they see 3 girls doing this. They probably didn't know that it was gonna go that far, you know. So the person's name was Tori. That's the one with the blonde hair and glasses. You know, she was just petrified, and she went into the station the next day and was like she knew who murdered Shanda. So the way they killed her was very, very sad and horrific. Is one of the, like I said, this is one of the saddest crimes. I don't think, this is 2023, I don't think anything has been that bad. You do have people who get burned, you do have people who get mutilated, but they tortured her. They tortured that poor baby all night long. So sad. And it was like a cartoon, because they said how they kept hitting her with the crowbar and she wouldn't die. That's what they said. They like, oh, she wouldn't die, so we burned her. And then they double burned her, because they drove, burned her, and then they put this same crowbar up her vagina. Very sad. Put her in the trunk of the car, and they got gasoline from the gas station and burned her body. Melinda didn't think that it was enough, so they went back and burned her again. And she died from the fire. Had they not burned her, she would have survived. She was a very strong girl. And they said it, because this was a course of 12 hours approximately that they were just driving around, joyriding. And they was up all night doing this, just beating her, beating her, beating her. And every time they would beat her, they put her in the trunk and she would make noise. And they would beat her again, and then beat her again, and then beat her again. And they hit her in the head, and they saw that she was still breathing. So she was a fighter. She really was fighting for her life. And they was like, you know what? Let's burn her. Like, they wouldn't have thought to, they didn't have gasoline before. They didn't have gasoline before. So they got the gasoline that night because they felt like, oh, you know, she's not dying, she just won't die. So they finally got gasoline and matches, and they lit her on fire. All because she was allegedly messing with somebody's girlfriend. And I think what's even more crazy about the case is that you have a lot of people who low-key agree with it. You have people who get beat up for stuff like that, and then when you ask them their opinion, they like, oh, well, she shouldn't be messing with her girlfriend, or she shouldn't have been messing with her man. It's like, really? Violence is not, you know, that's ridiculous, you know? And we live in a society of crazy is acceptable. You know, it's just, nobody deserves that. You know, I don't care if they was grown. I don't care if they was married. You don't kill someone, mutilate them, and burn their bodies because they're with your significant other. You just don't do stuff like that, you know? And then what makes it more sick is one of the people, her name was Hope. And she's one of the girls that's, there's 2 girls that were smiling in the picture, Melinda and another girl. The other girl, she had long brunette hair, just like Melinda's hair is more puffy. This girl's hair is more straight. She said that she knew that they were gonna pick up a 12-year-old girl and beat her up. Like, she knew that they was gonna do that. And Dr. Phil was like, so you knew that they was gonna, she said she didn't think it would get that far. They just thought that they was gonna beat her up and scare her. But that's bad enough that you knew that that was your Saturday night or Friday night or whatever night it was. Because for the father to let her stay up and watch TV or go out, it had to be we're presuming that this is a weekend. And then the next day they didn't go to school, they went to McDonald's. So that's another thing. The next morning they went to McDonald's and they made a joke saying that her body looked like the sausage that they were eating. So that's like sadistic, demented, and you know, no remorse, no empathy. Like, who does that? You know, who does that? But I wanted to stress what the mother said, and that's the main thing. Whatever you go through is you learn from it. But she had another daughter. Shanda had a sister, and it made her be more careful with things. And she said the closing remarks from the first part, she was like, be a parent. Don't be afraid to be up in your child's business. Don't be afraid to go in their rooms and read their diaries. And yeah, do what you gotta do. It's better to be a pestering parent than to be a parent in the dark and you don't know what's going on. You know, it was good that she knew that she found the letter. If she would have never found the letter, she would have never known to put her in a different school. She would have never, you know. And the mother did the best she could, and I hope she learns to forgive herself. The father, on the other hand, it's not his fault, but it's like we don't know what happened that night. It's too many holes in the story. How did Melinda know the address? I guess Amanda told her, but Amanda never said she told her. How does a 12-year-old even escape the night to be in anybody's car at nighttime? Did the father actually fall asleep and she was up watching TV and they knocked on the door? Did he actually allow her to leave? You know, it's just so many holes to the story, and I hope that and that's another thing I wanted to talk about. Amanda had no remorse. When you watch the Dr. Phil interview, she has no remorse. Amanda talks like a 14-year-old. She says, I suffered too, and they kicked me off the basketball team. And Dr. Phil was like, this girl is dead and died a horrific death, and you're talking about you getting kicked off a basketball team. And then she proceeds to say, she came on to me. Do you really think that's appropriate to say? Like, even if she did, that's not something that you say, and this girl is dead now because of you, really. Because you knew that she was going to kill her. You knew that she killed her. She came back to your house and told you not to say anything, and you didn't. So basically, you should be in jail too. Like, because she did it for you. Yeah, I don't know what's up with my shin, like. But yeah, so Amanda, like, didn't care. Her whole body language is just very, very negative. You could tell she, like, didn't care about Shanda. All she could say is, oh, well, I got kicked off the basketball team and I suffered. You suffered. And then she's like, oh, she came on to me. Well, according to evidence, you're the one who sent the letters first. She sent you letters too, but, you know, and then there was a physical relationship. So the mother feels like she was a molester. A better term for her is, I feel like she groomed her. I definitely agree that she groomed her. The question is, did Shanda have lesbian affairs before coming to middle school? No one knows. Because if she did, then you can't blame Amanda. But if this was her first, because she's like, oh, she was 12 and da-da-da. Yes, she was 12. But we can't blame Amanda for her lesbian affair unless if that was like her first. If that was like her first experience, fine. But you have some kids in elementary that, you know, experiment and do things with boys. So if she really truly was gay, maybe she did something with a girl in elementary and the mother didn't know. We don't know. Shanda's not here to tell that. But what we do know is that Amanda seemed like she was the aggressive one. She was teaching her how to forge a signature. she was failing in school because of Amanda. This is what we do know. So we can come to the conclusion that Amanda was the aggressor, that Amanda came after her because when she started hanging with her, she started failing school. And this is why her mother put her in Catholic school or whatever. So, yeah, Amanda's body language and her whole whatever is just, you know, very disturbing to me. She's a grown woman and she's not remorseful. The other girl that came on, Dr. Phil, she was very remorseful, at least. Then the ringleader, she was like 17, 18. They did an interview for her from jail. She seemed remorseful. Yeah, so it's an unfortunate incident. I wanted to talk to my kids. I always love talking to my kids. If there's something going on that you don't agree with, don't do it. Don't feel like you have a need to do it. Don't feel pressured into anything. We've all of us adults have done things out of peer pressure, but don't feel like you have to do something and because somebody's pressuring you to do that or whatever. Do what you want to do. You know, if your mother, also I wanted to stress this, if your parents is telling you to stay away from someone, it's for your own good. It could literally save your life. I'm going to say that again. If your mother especially, because sometimes fathers, you know, they don't really be knowing, but if your mother especially is telling you to stay away from someone, it's for your own good, okay? Don't think your mother's trying to ruin your life and she's trying to ruin your love life. Listen, we all been there, done that. Just like with my own son, he's 14, and there's a girl that's, you know, I don't want to call her out her name, but she's not a very nice girl. You know, she puts photos of herself on Instagram that's not so nice, and she was kind of mean to my son, and I told her, you know, leave her alone. You know, she doesn't mean well by you. You know, she did things in front of your face, and, you know, just stay away. I hope he listened, you know, but, you know, when your mother is telling you to stay away from someone, kids, please listen. Right? Shanda's death could have been prevented if she wasn't so eager to see Amanda, because that's how the devil was able to trap her. She didn't even know these girls. All they had to say to her was, Amanda is in the car. That's all they had. Like, she was so in love with this girl, this Amanda girl, that all they had to say was, Amanda is in the car to go to Witch's Castle. Why would you want to do something like that at night? She probably didn't want to do it. She just wanted to see Amanda. And Melinda knew that. See, the devil knows what you like. You know, and it was that easy for them to lure her. Because me at 12 years old, even if I was allowed to go out at night, I'm not going to go out with some people I don't know. I'm going to be like, where's Amanda? Let her come to the door. Let her come inside. Pull up. I'm not going in nobody's car until I see. And that's why the mother assumed that she was threatened to get in the car with a knife at that point, when she realized that Amanda wasn't in the car, which is possible. But it's just unfortunate that the father didn't follow after her. I'm hearing different stories, you know, so it's unfortunate. And the death could have been prevented. The mother blames Amanda, but to be honest, Shanda wasn't listening to her mother. Her mother said, stay away from Amanda. So when those girls came to the door, she should have said, I'm not supposed to be talking to Amanda, and shut the door. Now, granted, they could have grabbed her up and whatever. Granted, it was 3 of them. No, it was 4 of them. Melinda was in the back seat under the blanket. But it was, you know, it was 3 of them against her. They very much could have dragged her into the car. You know, that's another thing. How do they even know that? You know, I feel like a lot of these crime shows and stuff, they be making up stuff. Because how do they even know that these people came to the door and she said the word Amanda. Like, how do they even know that? They're making an assumption. We don't even know if they came to the door and just grabbed her up and dragged her to the car. Or maybe, how do we know that they didn't come up to the door and threaten her with a knife? Like, come with us. You better come with us before we cut you in. You know what I'm saying? They probably grabbed her up into the car and threatened her to get, you know, we don't know. We don't know, because if they were supposed to be broken up, right, and they wasn't supposed to be seeing each other, she started doing well in Catholic school. She moved on with her life. And the key evidence is she told her new friend in the Catholic school, I wish Amanda would just leave me alone. How you go from I wish Amanda would leave me alone to you so happy to see her? Somebody mentions her name and you just go in this car. It's so many holes in this story. Like, I've never, because most stories are, you know, once they find evidence, it's solved. But with this story, it just is way too many holes. And I hope that the mother finds the answers that she hasn't gotten. Hopefully time has given her those answers, because it's tough. It is. Unfortunately, the father committed suicide shortly after this. He drank himself to death. You know, he started drinking heavily. Really, really sad story. But yeah, kids, listen to your parents. Listen to the mother. Did the best she could. You know, she really did. She switched her school. She told her to stay away from my kid. She did all of that. You know. Also, she allowed her at first to see her at first. So I don't want you guys to think, oh, the mother just didn't want her to be gay. No. This girl was failing school because of Amanda. Amanda was a bad influence. The mother had a right to tell her, stay away from my kid. And she put her in a different school, you know, the following week. So the mother, I feel like the mother did her job. She did what any mother would do. She switched schools. She told her to stay away from her kid. She did, I think she did well. She was a good mom, you know. The father, you know, we don't know what happened. So I can't say it's the father's fault, because it's two different scenarios. It's two different. They saying the man went to sleep and she was watching TV, and that's how she was able to escape. And then there's another scenario where he saw the you know, she didn't know these girls and she still left anyway. We don't really know. But kids, listen to your parents. I can't stress that enough. Listen to your parents, because that could be possible. Some people don't have control over their kids. Maybe he did tell her, don't go in the car with them, and she insisted, and he felt helpless. That could be very possible. We don't know. But, yeah. And those are my thoughts.